There has been a long time argument between the black powder shooters about percussion revolvers. Which one is better, the Colt or the Remington? I'm a lucky guy because I have an original of both in shooting condition, and I know that these guns are capable of putting the bullets hole in hole with round ball, so they make a fine piece for comparison test. I would like to replicate 19th century military style testings, something like the tests carried out in the Woolwich Royal Arsenal in 1851, where Colt Dragoon and Adams revolvers could compare to each other. Of course, I'm going to use some touch of modernity. I am recreating military testing, so I'm not going for the extreme accuracy now, but I'm going to use the same kind of cartridge for both revolvers. It will be a combustible envelope cartridge, the kind of cartridge that was described in the US and the Confederate Ordnance Manual as well, 30 grains of government powder and a 216 grain conical bullet with the size of 0.46 inches. To have a close match, I have 30 grains of 2F Swiss powder in my cartridges and also a 200 grain Lee conical bullet that has a diameter of 454 inches. The test will have 3 stages. First, I'm going to chronograph the muzzle velocity of the bullet so I can calculate the muzzle energy. Second, I will have a reliability and accuracy test at 50 yards with 20-20 shots fired with both revolvers. And third, I'm going to have a penetration test using these pine wood blocks, and we are going to see how deep the bullet penetrates from the different guns into the block. But before going to the range, let's check the technical specifications of both guns. Both revolvers are martially marked and saw service in the Civil War. The Colt Army was manufactured in 1862, while the Remington was produced in 1864. Both were issued to Union troops, maybe cavalry regiments. The cartouche of the main inspector of the arsenal is visible on the grip panel. See SL letters on the Colt for C. Samuel Leonard, and the GP cartouche on the New Model Army for Giles Porter, main inspector. Both revolvers are martially marked. The Colt lost 90% of its bluing, but the Remington still has 80% of the original bluing present. These differences may be caused by the different metal used for the guns. Small letters, so-called sub-inspection marks, are visible on the barrel, trigger guard, cylinder and the frame of both guns. The sub-inspectors examined the different parts separately and accepted or condemned the parts. The final inspection was done by the principal inspectors, whose initials are stamped on the grip panel. Neither of the front sights are adjustable horizontally. The rear sight is located on the frame on the Remington, while it is a small notch cut into the hammer on the Colt. The Remington has a much better sight picture. The biggest difference between the guns is the frame itself. It is open in the top part of the Colt, while it is completely surrounding a cylinder on the New Model Army. The Remington has a stronger frame for sure, but the grip of the Colt is much better. It is bigger and more comfortable than the New Model Armies. Some say that the Remington is more reliable, as the particles of the spent percussion cap can easily fall into the action of the Colt. The Remington has a smaller opening in the back of the frame, so I can confirm this statement. Field stripping of both guns is easy, takes only a few seconds. But the Remington has some advantages here as well. The barrel does not detach from the frame, so the soldier cannot drop it accidentally. On the other hand, it is easier to clean the Colt because the barrel is removable. It is easy to remove the barrel from the frame with the help of the loading lever. The bore of the Colt has 7 grooves and a progressive twist rate, while the New Model Army has 5 grooves with progressive twist rate also. Both guns have a groove-to-groove diameter of 456-457. The Remington has much better safety rests for the hammer on the cylinder. The Colt had them also, but the small protruding pins disappeared many times ago from my army. The full frame of the Remington is stronger for sure, but I would never call the Colt frame weak. The recoil of the gun is supported with a very strong cylinder axis, the wedge and the small pins on the bottom of the frame. The hand assembly, trigger and cylinder stop system is nearly identical on both guns, however the parts are a bit stronger and bigger on the Colt revolvers. Colt advertised his 1860 Army as it is made of silver steel, light but strong alloy that receives spring tempering for the durability. However, the weight difference is only 70 grams between the two revolvers in favor of the Colt. But now it's time to cut the Gordian knot. Follow me to the range and see which performs better. All the shooting tests were carried out from a distance of 50 meters. I started the shooting with the older revolver, the 1860 Army. On some occasions, it was not easy to fit the bullet into the cylinder easily. The original cartridges had the lubrication applied on the bullet, but I did it in a separate step. The average of the 5 chronographed shot was 242 meters per second. It was much easier to load the Remington. The opening on the frame is much bigger, so it is much easier to insert the cartridge into the cylinder. And even the capping was more comfortable on this gun. The average of the 5 shots fired with the Remington was 261 meters per second.
Here is the bullet.
The bullet of the Colt Army penetrated 76 millimeters into the pine wood.
Bullet. So the total penetration of the Remington revolver is 65. Again.
I had one misfire with the Colt Army, caused by a spent cap falling into the action. Both guns were fired by 2 shooters during the firing test to get a better personal impression on both revolvers. "20 shots were fired with both guns before evaluating the targets.
Here's the target of the 1860 Colt Army. You can see it's quite a big group size. Out of the 20 shots we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the human-sized target. So here's the target of the Remington revolver. I think it is out of question. We use the same kind of load, we use the same kind of bullet, same powder, and you can see it's a very tight group size here. From 50 meters, I think it's quite a fair result. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 shots in the human-sized target. Of course, this small shooting test cannot be considered statistically accurate, just a good indication about the capabilities of the 2 revolvers. In the Civil War, state arsenals and private contractors also manufactured 44 caliber army-size cartridges. This means that there was great variation in powder type, powder weight, the bullet type, bullet weight. So the soldiers fed the revolvers what they received. So from this point of view, my small test is an accurate test.
My cartridges, made according to the ordnance manual, showed different performance from the two revolvers. The muzzle velocity of the Remington was a bit higher, but the penetration of the Colt was a bit bigger, 1 centimeter more. On the other hand, accuracy was another question. The Remington was clearly performing better in case of accuracy, and it was more reliable as we had one misfire with the Colt revolver that was caused by a spent cap falling into the action. It's a common problem with the Colt revolvers. But with the Remington we did not have any kind of reliability problems. Colt has a more comfortable grip for sure, but the side picture is much worse than the Remington, so it was much easier to put the bullets into the same group with the Remington than with the Colt. So which revolver is better? Of course the Remington is a better design, it's a more modern gun. But let's not forget that without the open-top Colt revolvers, the Remington would never exist.